Hi everyone, I'm Marlene Moore, the creator of the Back to Basics piano program, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest video. We're getting up there now. We're into the last parts of our videos. There are 32 videos altogether, and if you are new to watching this, please start with video number 1 for the Back to Basics piano teacher training program. In our last video, we did book 7, and we're pretty much finished with book 7 except for 2 pieces, Minuet and Remembering. Minuet by Handel, and I think we've all had this one before. I probably don't need to play the whole thing, but I'll play part of it. It's that rather basic piece by Handel that most of us have learned. Oh, I've got my other one on. Sorry, I'll try that again. And it goes on. I would treat this as a sight reading piece. You don't have to memorize it. The student doesn't have to memorize it. Can if you like. Some children and adults memorize easier than other ones, but so that's up to you. If you want to memorize it, do it in steps, perhaps one line at a time, always hand separately first. This next piece is called Remembering, and it is written by Rachel Lilly. Now, who is Rachel Lilly? Well, she was my piano student about 20 years ago, and I believe she became a medical doctor. I've lost track of her, but she gave me permission to publish her piece. This piece did very well, and Rachel played it in a rather major recital in Vancouver, British Columbia. I've always loved the piece, so I put it into book 8. I hope it fits here well. It's written in F major. And based on pretty much 4-note forms. It's a pretty little piece. I'm going to have to stop between pages because it's fairly long. Turn. Finally got my light fixed. The page turning isn't fixed. So how did Rachel, who wrote Remembering, get to be such a good composer? Well, for one thing, she had a good ear, but she was also a good sight reader. We sometimes think that good sight readers don't have such a good ear, but that's not true. Rachel was a person who had both really fantastic sight reading, and she had a good ear too. And she listened, and she enjoyed what she did. She also went through that book called Making Melodies, and she loved that book. It taught her what to do with the left hand by herself, by her ear, and what to do to finish the melody. I would consider that book probably my most important book of the companion books for Back to Basics. I hope you will get one of those and look at it and do it yourself before you ever give it to a student. So now we're in Book 8. We are. Can you play Book 8 yet? I could play Book 8, 9, and 10 with mistakes, but because that's a lot of repertoire to remember. But good for you if you can. We're moving right along. The technical requirements are listed at the beginning of Book 8 in the section called To the Teacher. It says, as far as scales are concerned, all white key major scales, 2 octaves together. All white key harmonic minor scales, 2 octaves together. All white key melodic minor scales, 2 octaves together. Chromatic scale starting on any key. Left hand too. I would do chromatic scales only hands separately. We don't need them hands together yet. Chords, all white key major scale triads, 2 octaves together. And broken. All white key harmonic minor triads, 2 octaves together. All white key 4-note forms, 1 octave broken. And that would be for, I didn't specify this here, but I would say for major and minor. Dominant sevenths of C, well, the dominant seventh of C is G, right? Starts on G because you go up to the 5th. The dominant is the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you go in thirds to find your dominant sevenths. I used to have students do this to memorize what finger went where. 4, 3, 4, 4. I can't talk and do. Can you talk and do? I cannot do that. Anyway, we've got 4, 4, 3, 4, 4. Diminished sevenths, and they're even easier to find because a diminished seventh of, shall we say, C minor, the diminished seventh of a minor key, C minor, would be going down 1 half tone. 1 half tone from the key of C. Here we go. And broken. which ones they are. In this case, A minor, E minor, B minor, F minor. Octaves, solid and broken. And in book 9 or 8, either one, I'm going to show you what are called Octave Studies, where I've made these up, and they're really, really helpful when we get to the octave parts. And it says that students should now have the following books: Rudiments of Theory, book 1 by Barbara Warham; the Brown Book, Scales, Chords, and Arpeggios; Handel Exercises, that's the virtuoso pianist; Czerny, the intermediate book of Czerny; Dozen a Day Sight Reading, book 2 and up; and Making Melodies by me. In this book, we have some lovely pieces. I think book 8 is one of my favorites. Do you have a favorite book yet? And this is a little easier to read over here, where we have the key signatures, and they are all written out for you so that you can have a look at them very easily. All of the key signatures, in case you forget. I always remember most of them until I get into a harder one. I've got my light teetering in one spot here. Hopefully it's going to work better. This is called French Children's Song. It's an easy piece, and I thought it was a good idea to start the book off with an easy piece. So here we go, French Children's Song. Alrighty, it says poco ritardando at the end, a little bit of a slowdown at the end. I would teach that as a sight piece. Unless a student is having difficulties with sight reading, I would teach these all by sight. And if they have a spot that they're having a problem with, then I would go back to that spot and teach that spot by rote. You want at this point, you want hopefully, they want to all do this, but what we want, the goal is to be able to have the ear training equal to the note reading. So sight reading would be as equal to, if not better, than the rote learning right now. But if you have to go back and do rote teaching, that's fine. That's just fine, because that student is showing you that's how they learn. I was that student. I was that student that had trouble with sight reading. It's something I had to work on harder. Okay, I hope you know by now how you learn and how your students learn too. Christmas Secrets by Dutton. This is supposed to be children waking up on Christmas morning and how excited they are about their presents. Can you just see them? They're so excited for their Christmas presents, opening their stockings and whatnot. It's a piece that's been around for a long time, and I haven't seen much of it in the standard repertoire, so I wanted to include it into our book 8. That takes us to Liber Augustin. with your basic chord. Or something like that. It's a pretty piece. And not a hard one. Did you notice they go harder and then easier? This is an easier one. Arietta is a little harder. I tell the students that the day that Mozart wrote Arietta, he had a cold, and he wrote this part where he called it a hiccup and a sneeze. A hiccup and a sneeze. And then there's an achoo part too. I'll play it and you see if you can find the a hiccup and a sneeze and the achoo part. It's literally going achoo. Alrighty, here we go. It's at the end. A hiccup and a sneeze. Did you hear the achoo achoo? I'm going to play it again and see if you can get the achoo achoo. I'm going to go slower. Hear it? Achoo achoo. 1, 2, achoo achoo. And that's Mozart's cold. I don't know if he really had a cold that day, but you know, I was taught that piece that way and I've never forgotten it. Sometimes a little story means a lot to a child. They do. If you remember in the last book, I told you about Happy Farmer. I was taught that way too, about the farmer and the little quiet mice. The stories appealed to me, so they might appeal to one of your students too. Speeding Fingers. One of my adult students who was going through these books, she liked the names because, of course, Cherney called them number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever. I gave them names. And this is Speeding Fingers. And her name was Brenda. And she said to me, well, in book 10, do we get to Bleeding Fingers? She said, good, Speeding Fingers, do we get to Bleeding Fingers? Hope not. Anyway, Cherney. Hands separately to begin. And then when they really have the movement of every finger perfect, then together. I cut my teeth on Handel and Cherney. I believe in them. And and I hope you do too. I hope you've got your book and you're watching, because we have a correction to make on the next page. Écossais by Schubert. The very first note is not C, it is E. And I don't know how that happened. It's not right, it's an E. And when we get down to the second half, third line, going down the third line, in the left hand, C, oh, sorry, we're up here. That should be an E, not a G. How it's written is this way. No. It's supposed to be an E. I don't know how that passed my attention, but it did. So right there in the second measure on the third line in the left hand, it is an E in the treble clef that the left hand is playing. So they're both E's that are mistakes. The first one is a C, it should be an E. The second one is a G, it should be an E. Hope you got that. These will be corrected for the next edition. I'm sorry about that. There have been a few mistakes here and there. If you find a notational mistake in any of the books, please let me know what page, what book, and what is the mistake, because I need to know. It's a lot of music. I've written 22 books worth of music. That's a lot of music. And sometimes it can get past me. Sometimes it can get past my music editor. And sometimes it can get past Russell Olish, who does all of the transcribing. So, not the transcribing, he does all of the engraving. So please let me know if you find a mistake. It's easily done. Okie doke. Thank you. Écossais. And then that repeats, and then it goes on to, that's where the mistake is in the left hand. It should be an E. Looks like a simple little piece, but it's not. Schubert wrote some real doozies, and this has a few twists in it. Take your time when teaching this, whether it's done by rote or done by sight reading or a combination of both. At this point, I always taught a combination of both sight reading and ear training. It's easier that way for some children. Just going to check our time. Oh, we're just about there. We've got a few minutes left. Probably enough for me to play Slavic Dance for you. And I'm just going to I'm not going to start on the part up here. I'm going to start on the part down here. That's one of my own compositions, Slavic Dance. I hope you enjoy it. Children love it for a recital piece. So do parents, by the way, too. It's a good zippy piece. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Have fun with Book 8. We'll continue on with Book 8 in the next video. Bye for now.